The story begins with a young guy who is half asleep in math class when he suddenly wakes up somewhere completely unfamiliar. He freaks out after realizing he has somehow time traveled. And to make things worse, he's now an old man. The guy never even dated anyone, was just about to enjoy college life, and now he's trapped inside the body of an elderly geezer. He can't process it. After calming down a little, he figures that since he time traveled, this old body has to belong to some hidden master. So he starts digging through the original owner's memories. Turns out, the world he ended up in is called the Kunlun realm, a world completely centered around cultivation. The path to power is divided into stages: G refinement, foundation establishment, core formation, Nascent Soul, soul transformation, integration, great ascension, tribulation, and finally, True Immortal. The body he took over belongs to a man named Ye Junlin, once a true prodigy who reached core formation at an unbelievably young age. Even rose all the way to Peak Master of Misty Peak, one of the 6 strongest sects in the eastern region, the Xuantian sect. But his golden days came crashing down hard. During a mission to hunt evil cultivators, he got ambushed. His Dantian was shattered, his cultivation completely destroyed, and just like that, the legend fell apart. After that, Ye Junlin spent decades wasting away alone on a mountain, cutting himself off from the world and letting the years pass with no purpose left. And now he's already 110 years old. Once our protagonist realizes that, he goes completely quiet, slowly letting the reality of the situation sink in. Then he completely breaks down. He just got transported into this world and he's already at death's door. He crossed worlds just to die as a powerless nobody with barely any time left. But he refuses to accept that. He's read enough web novels to know the rule: every time traveler gets some kind of cheat ability. So there has to be a system out there. He starts calling out for it, loud and confident at first, slamming his staff on the ground, demanding the system reveal itself. Nothing. He tries again, this time cupping his hands around his mouth and yelling into the void. Still nothing. His tone shifts completely. He starts pleading, apologizing, begging it to just say something. But the silence continues. Then a new idea hits him. Maybe this isn't a system story at all. Maybe it's the classic old man in a ring trope. He spots a ring and his eyes light up. He holds the ring up to his face and calls out, half hopeful, half desperate, asking if there's a hidden master living inside it. The ring says nothing. Just 4 cold dots. He completely snaps, screaming at it with everything he's got. He goes full meltdown, flailing his staff, stomping around, raging at the sky in total despair. And that's exactly what triggers it. A glowing green system panel appears, activated by his excessive cursing. It coolly informs him to watch his language. He's over the moon. The system explains it was in deep sleep and, as an apology, offers him a newbie gift pack to get things started. He doesn't think twice. He yells for it to open right now, ready to finally turn his luck around. The system reveals his new ability: strength through adversity. Whenever he faces someone stronger, he instantly jumps 1 level above them. No training needed. Ye Junlin screams in disbelief. If this is real, fighting any real cultivator would shoot him straight past their level without breaking a sweat. He imagines going up against an immortal and his eyes light up. The system assures him it's completely legit. He pumps his fist and declares he's done with training forever. Then the system drops a reminder: 1 hour left to live. The excitement dies instantly. He needs to find someone strong enough to hit him, and fast. He takes off down the mountain path in a panic. Scrambling down the stone steps, he curses Ye Junlin for spending decades hiding up here. The system chimes in cheerfully. 35 minutes left. Before he reaches the bottom, the sky darkens. Purple lightning splits the clouds and a swarm of demon beasts descends on the mountain. Sect leader Ye Junlin of the Xuantian sect arrives with his disciples and roars into the storm, demanding to know who dares challenge his sect. A massive bird, Demon King, emerges from the chaos. He declares himself a survivor the sect thought was finished and announces he's here to wipe them all out. Ye Junlin recognizes him immediately. He personally sent this beast off a cliff years ago after it slaughtered the people of Li Kingdom. He's not impressed it crawled back. The Demon King laughs and reveals he's broken through to Nascent Soul, unleashing a shockwave of power that tears through the air. The disciples erupt in panic. A Nascent Soul expert is completely beyond their ability to handle. Ye Junlin's expression tightens, but Ye Junlin refuses to back down. He rallies his disciples, telling them surrendering is not an option. With no other choice, the Xuantian members draw their weapons and charge headlong into the demon army. The Demon King orders his horde forward and the mountain erupts into full-scale chaos. Right in the middle of it all, Ye Junlin appears. He stretches out a shaky hand and starts yelling at anyone nearby to come hit him. He is completely serious. The system flashes again, 20 minutes left. Ye Junlin screams back at it. He knows. The problem is, the fighters are too far away to even hear him. No time to walk down. He mutters about his aching back and decides to throw himself straight into the thick of it. The Demon King mocks the sect's resistance, telling them if this is all they've got, today is the day they all end. He draws in his full power and fires a devastating blast, screaming at them to feel the wrath of a true Nascent Soul cultivator. The Demon King's blast tears through the battlefield. Ye Junlin takes a direct hit and gets sent flying, blood spraying from the impact. The rest of the disciples are scattered like leaves. The dust settles. Ye Junlin crashes to the ground, barely holding on. He mutters to himself that the gap between core formation and Nascent Soul is just insane. The Demon King cackles and roars at whoever is left standing, daring them to step up next. Then a voice cuts through the chaos. A tiny figure standing far off in the distance is screaming at the Demon King, calling him a dumb bird and demanding his attention. The Demon King turns and spots Ye Junlin perched on a rocky cliff. He sneers and asks if this old geezer actually wants to die. Ye Junlin shouts back through a spirit stone amplifier he dug out of the old body's memories. He taunts the Demon King to come hit him, threatening to call him his grandson if he doesn't. The Demon King's eyes go red with fury. He says he has never seen anyone this cocky. Ye Junlin grins and tells him to enjoy the title. The Xuantian disciples stare in disbelief. One of them recognizes the old figure as Junior Brother Yi, the Misty Peak legend who vanished decades ago. Another disciple is skeptical. The man has been powerless for years and is basically just a mortal now. Nobody can figure out why he would show up here. Word spreads fast. The Demon King recognizes the name and laughs it off, calling Ye Junlin a washed-up loser from the old days. Ye Junlin screams back into the amplifier, telling the Demon King to come get roasted. The system quietly reminds him. 10 seconds left to live. He panics inside. The bird is still just hovering up there, not moving. The countdown ticks down. 10, 9, 9, 8, 8, 7, 7. The Demon King finally snaps. He charges up a massive beam of energy and dives straight at Ye Junlin, screaming that he will grant his wish to die. The beam slams directly into the cliff where Ye Junlin is standing. The explosion swallows everything. From somewhere inside the destruction, he yells that it is finally happening. The system activates. It detects that the host has been struck by an early-stage Nascent Soul opponent and triggers the Strength through Adversity skill. Ye Junlin instantly advances to mid-stage Nascent Soul. Flames erupt around him. Ye Junlin opens his eyes and feels the power surging through his body for the first time. He mutters in awe, so this is what Nascent Soul feels like. The system cheers. Ye Junlin channels the energy and fires back with everything he has got, sending a devastating counterblast straight into the Demon King. The Demon King eats the full hit and reels back, barely believing what just happened. He sputters that something is seriously wrong with this old man. The shockwave tears across the battlefield. The remaining disciples scramble and look up in shock, asking each other who on earth just unleashed that kind of power. The smoke clears. Standing in the middle of the fire and light is Ye Junlin, hair loose and robes blazing, looking nothing like the frail old man from before. Xuantian stares from the ground and whispers, asking if Junior Brother Yi is still alive. The Demon King staggers back, sweating hard. He can't believe it. Ye Junlin is not just a Nascent Soul, he's actually stronger than him. The Xuantian disciples explode in shock. They accuse Ye Junlin of faking being powerless all these years, while secretly breaking through to Nascent Soul. Someone calls him a sly devil. The Xuantian disciples are still trying to process what they just witnessed. Someone blurts out that a Nascent Soul cultivator suddenly showed up in their sect out of nowhere. The Demon King brushes it off like it's all some big misunderstanding, and even jokes about coming by for tea later. Ye Junlin isn't fooled for a second. He tells the Demon King that slaughtering people and calling it a misunderstanding doesn't work. The system rewards him with a new technique, the Great Desolation Imprisoning Heaven Finger. Ye Junlin smirks and says a simple apology means nothing after wiping out an entire clan. The Demon King straightens up and tries to act tough, warning Ye Junlin not to take things any further. Ye Junlin makes himself clear. He never looks for trouble, but he never backs down either. And a beast that slaughtered countless humans to reach Nascent Soul deserves no mercy. The Demon King completely loses control. He spreads his wings and burns his own core. Dark energy exploding around him as he screams that he'll drag Ye Junlin down with him. Ye Junlin slowly raises one hand as a blazing golden orb forms above his palm. The entire battlefield falls silent. He replies with only 2 words, "You wish." Then he unleashes the flow of the 4 heavens, tearing through the sky like divine judgment itself. The Demon King's eyes widen in horror as the attack rushes toward him and completely swallows him whole. As he crashes down, the Demon King finally breaks. He begs Ye Junlin to spare him, offering everything he owns and crying that he just reached Nascent Soul and doesn't want to die. The collision is devastating. A massive shockwave tears across the battlefield in every direction. The demon army instantly falls into chaos, scattering everywhere while screaming that their king has been killed. Ye Junlin watches the demons run and calmly raises one hand. Escaping was never going to be an option. He wipes out the remaining demons like it's nothing, then casually announces that the pest problem has been solved. Sect leader True Immortal walks over and quietly tells Ye Junlin that the entire sect owes him everything. One senior disciple admits he thought Ye Junlin was finished for good, never expecting him to already reach Nascent Soul. Su Qianshui, the peak master of Heavenly Fragrance Peak, cuts through the praise. She says it was obvious Ye Junlin was never the type to disappear quietly. Zhao Dezu, peak master of Hidden Sword Peak, quickly jumps in and insists Ye Junlin was simply keeping a low profile while protecting the sect from the shadows. Ye Junlin listens to them make up explanations and quietly laughs to himself. At least it saves him from explaining anything. He'll gladly take it. Before things can calm down, a messenger rushes over with urgent news. The Wind Thunder sect seized Profound Heaven's spirit mines while everyone was still recovering, causing massive casualties. True Immortal's expression darkens with rage. Pulling something like this right after the demon attack was clearly planned. The senior disciples gather together as the gravity of the situation sinks in. Without the spirit veins, the sect's cultivation will completely stall. True Immortal turns to Ye Junlin and asks if he'll go with them. Ye Junlin's gaze turns icy. The Wind Thunder sect deliberately chose the perfect moment to strike. Right on cue, the system gives him a new quest aimed directly at the Wind Thunder sect. Ye Junlin laughs. Since fighting only makes him stronger anyway, he might as well visit them personally. He looks at the others with a smirk and tells them to stay here and handle the aftermath. He'll head straight to Wind Thunder and settle things at the source. The disciples stare at him in stunned silence. Someone quietly mutters that junior brother Yi is seriously on another level. Ye Junlin shoots into the sky by himself. Down below, someone wonders when their sect ever became this powerful. The answer comes immediately. Never. The scene shifts to enormous towering gates beneath a clear sky. This is the Wind Thunder sect, sitting comfortably at the top and completely clueless about what's coming. Inside the sect, two men walk through the courtyard looking extremely satisfied. Their plan worked perfectly. They unleashed the Demon King on Profound Heaven, then swept in and took the spirit veins while both sides suffered heavy losses. One of them nervously wonders if the Demon King might betray them someday. The other just asks if he's scared. The atmosphere inside the main hall is unusually lively. News has arrived that an important figure from the Feathered Immortal sect came to Wind Thunder today. Sect Master Chen Yunhai sits proudly in the hall with a huge smile. He asks Elder Mu about his son Chen Shao, who apparently became the disciple of a venerable at the Feathered Immortal sect. Elder Mu confirms the news. Chen Shao was accepted by the Great Sun Venerable and is now learning top-level techniques. The kid has all the potential to become a legend. Chen Yunhai bursts into laughter and declares that his son is destined to become immortal. The elders around him loudly congratulate him. Elder Mu then presents a gift from Chen Xiao, an upper-grade Nascent Soul pill, something so rare that most cultivators never even get to see one. The hall instantly falls silent the moment they hear Nascent Soul pill. Chen Yunhai stares at the box and declares that his breakthrough is now guaranteed. He grabs the box with both hands and laughs that today couldn't possibly get any better. Two blessings arriving at once. Chen Yunhai brings up the issue with the Demon King. Elder Mu casually waves it away and says he'll deal with it personally. Chen Yunhai sincerely thanks Elder Mu. Without his ability to judge the Demon King's strength from the beginning, their entire plan would have failed. Back at the Wind Thunder sect, a violent explosion shatters the outer formation. Guards panic as someone screams that the defensive array was destroyed from the outside. Ye Junlin descends through the smoke with his robes fluttering and white hair blowing wildly. He glances around and mutters that this is the famous Wind Thunder sect. Chen Yunhai rushes out with fury written all over his face, demanding to know who dared barge into his sect. Ye Junlin simply smiles with his arms crossed. In one calm sentence, he introduces himself. The name's Ye Junlin, and yes, he's here to destroy the place. The Wind Thunder disciples freeze the moment his aura spreads over them. One disciple chokes out the words Nascent Soul, and the crowd instantly panics. Right on time, the system rewards him just for arriving. Two brand new abilities, the Human King's Seal and the Great Void Art. Ye Junlin grins and says he's got even more tricks now. Shen Yunhai forces himself to stay calm. After hearing the name Ye Junlin, he quickly switches to a polite smile and asks why such an honored guest came to their humble sect. Ye Junlin's expression instantly turns cold. He tells Chen Yunhai to quit pretending. Wind Thunder worked with the Demon King to attack his sect, and now it's their turn to disappear. Chen Yunhai's expression finally cracks. He shouts that Ye Junlin's cultivation was destroyed. So how could he possibly reach Nascent Soul? Then another thought hits him. If Ye Junlin made it here alive, the Demon King must already be dead. Chen Yunhai desperately turns toward Elder Mu. Elder Mu calmly steps forward and tells him not to worry. Someone like Ye Junlin isn't worth fearing. Elder Mu steps in front of Ye Junlin and gives his condition: kneel down and break both your arms, and he'll spare your life. Ye Junlin tilts his head with a blank expression and asks if this old man seriously expects him to kneel. He doesn't even look angry, just bored. Elder Mu completely snaps. Dark energy erupts around him as he charges forward, sword intent slicing through the hall. Ye Junlin doesn't move an inch. He stands there calmly while the sharp energy crashes toward him, his own aura rising to meet it head-on. The disciples watching turn pale instantly. Someone shouts that Elder Mu is a divine transformation expert, and the pressure alone is terrifying. Another confidently says Ye Junlin is finished. Chen Yunhai watches everything unfold and slowly breaks into a huge grin, enjoying what he thinks is about to happen. He keeps twisting the knife, reminding Ye Junlin that there's no escaping this time, and once he dies, Profound Heaven sect will lose its last protector. Elder Mu's eyes blaze with killing intent as he closes the distance, overwhelming pressure flooding the hall. Ye Junlin feels the divine transformation aura pressing down on him and slowly smiles. He quietly says this is going to be fun. Meanwhile, at Profound Heaven's spirit veins, fallen disciples litter the ground while the survivors barely hold on against the Wind Thunder invaders. A Profound Heaven disciple shouts in disbelief that feathered immortal sect elders are fighting alongside Wind Thunder right now. The Wind Thunder commander confirms it. They never would have dared attack with just a Demon King's backing. The feathered immortal elder came because of Chen Xiao's talent. He gives his terms: stand down now, or spend the rest of their days as Wind Thunder's servants. Junyun clenches his jaw and shouts that they need to move instantly and pull Ye Junlin out of Wind Thunder sect before it's too late. Su Changshui and the others share a grim look. Someone raises the question Yue Tuan is dreading. Can Ye Junlin really survive against a feathered immortal elder? The answer: impossible. Divine transformation versus Nascent Soul is no contest. One young disciple refuses to accept it and swears he'll beg on his knees if that's what it takes to spare Ye Junlin. The others grab him and tell him not to do anything reckless. Back at the Wind Thunder Hall, Chen Yunhai watches Ye Junlin smile calmly under Elder Mu's killing intent and mistakes it for fear. He laughs and says the kid is just frozen up. Elder Mu steps forward and looks down at Ye Junlin with contempt. He calls Profound Heaven an ant's nest and says Ye Junlin is less than the grass underfoot. His voice drops colder. He tells Ye Junlin that even if he begs right now, it changes nothing. He will personally wipe Profound Heaven sect off the map. Ye Junlin listens, then smiles and tells the old man to stop talking and just make his move. He's wasting Yue Tuan's time. He proposes a one-on-one fight. Loser calls the winner grandfather. He says it without a trace of hesitation. Elder Mu snaps and launches himself forward at full speed, green lightning crackling around his fists as he tears across the hall. Chen Yunhai pumps his fist from the sidelines, already convinced it's over and that Profound Heaven sect is as good as theirs. The moment Elder Mu's attack lands, the system triggers. It detects a late-stage divine transformation opponent and vaults Ye Junlin straight to peak divine transformation. His eyes flash gold as power erupts from his body. Ye Junlin stands in the shockwave, one finger raised, and asks Elder Mu with a flat expression whether divine transformation is really all he's got. Elder Mu stumbles back, face drained of color. He chokes out that Ye Junlin is also a divine transformation stage. The hall erupts. Chen Yunhai can't believe it. Elder Mu crashes to the floor, sputtering that this wasteland shouldn't be able to produce anyone at Nascent Soul, let alone divine transformation. The Wind Thunder disciples lose it. One shouts that divine transformation is unheard of in this region. Another says Ye Junlin is far too young and none of this should be possible. Chen Yunhai grabs Elder Mu and screams at him to do something. Elder Mu steadies himself and says his techniques come from feathered immortal sect and are on a totally different level. Ye Junlin smirks and asks whether the old man really thinks his techniques are better than his own. Elder Mu sneers and unleashes a surge of dark energy, declaring that whatever Profound Heaven has is dirt, compared to the treasures of feathered immortal sect. He rises into the air and announces he will show Ye Junlin the true power of an Earth-grade technique. Elder Mu slams down the Tai Azurwood palm, a massive spectral hand of crackling blue energy crashing down from above. The disciples watch in awe and explain the technique rankings: mortal, spirit, profound, earth, heaven, sovereign. Even spirit grade is a treasure here. Earth grade is on another level entirely. Elder Mu declares that dying by his hand is an honor Ye Junlin should be grateful for. Ye Junlin scoffs and calls it parlor tricks, then raises a glowing orb and asks if Elder Mu really dared to show off in front of him. He calls the technique by name Human King Seal. A massive fist of blazing red energy erupts from his palm and tears upward. The Human King Seal manifests as a colossal flaming dragon fist, golden eyes blazing, obliterating Ye toothing in its path and crashing straight into Elder Mu's attack. Elder Mu and Chen Yunhai stare up in horror. Chen Yunhai stutters that the grade must be heaven, or sovereign, or something beyond that entirely. Ye Junlin drives the seal down with one hand, the technique blazing like a second sun as it tears through the hall. The Human King Seal slams into Elder Mu with full force, sending shockwaves in Ye 2 direction, and lighting up the hall in fire and gold. Elder Mu gets blasted off his feet and crashes to the ground, his Earth-grade technique totally shattered. He scrambles to his knees in a panic, throwing his hands up and desperately invoking the name of Feathered Immortal Sect, begging to be spared. Ye Junlin looks down coldly. He doesn't start trouble, but if someone comes for him, he kills them. If a sect dares to come, he dares to destroy it. Elder Mu tries one last threat. If he dies here, Feathered Immortal Sect will come for profound heaven with a way toothing they have. Ye Junlin laughs and says, making threats on death's door is a bold choice. Then he tells Elder Mu to disappear, lightning crackling around his hand. Elder Mu goes still. Then Chen Yunhai hits the ground shouting that it was all a misunderstanding and Wind Thunder is ready to submit totally. The Wind Thunder disciples collapse to their knees all at once, pressing their foreheads to the floor and pledging to serve as his loyal dogs. Ye Junlin glances down at the sea of people groveling at his feet, and says quietly that he doesn't think they're worthy enough to be his dogs. Chen Yunhai makes one last desperate play. He warns Ye Junlin that his son Chen Xiao is a personal disciple of a feathered immortal elder and tells him not to bring disaster upon himself. Ye Junlin just smiles and raises an eyebrow. Destined for immortality, huh? He turns to the kneeling crowd and makes his position clear. Anyone who provokes him gets destroyed. Wind Thunder struck first, so the consequences are on them. He unleashes his full power across the sect. Wind Thunder will not exist after today. He means Ye 2 word. A massive explosion tears through the Wind Thunder sect, flattening buildings and sending debris flying in Ye 2 direction. Ye Junlin stands amid the smoldering ruins, totally unbothered. He smiles and says he looks forward to the so-called immortal sun, showing up to offer himself as experience points. He spots something in the distance and squints. Is that Xu Yunian flying toward him? Xu Yunian and the senior disciples arrive and land in front of him. Xu Yunian shouts with relief that Ye Junlin is still alive. Ye Junlin shrugs. Where else would he be? He casually says he'd handle Wind Thunder sect, and he did. Xu Yunian grabs his hand and tells him how lucky he is. A feathered immortal elder showed up here, and Ye Junlin somehow managed to avoid them entirely. Ye Junlin glances down and says casually that that elder. He already killed him. Xu Yunian's jaw drops. He shouts that feathered immortal elders are divine transformation cultivators. A disciple nearby grins and says she told them Peak Master Yi can handle anything. Xu Yunian stares in disbelief. Junior brother Yi defeated a divine transformation cultivator. Ye Junlin shrugs, confirms he is at divine transformation too, then tells Ye 2 to stop gawking and start looting Wind Thunder's resources. Xu Yunian watches him walk away, shaking his head. Junior brother Yi at divine transformation. Truly unbelievable. A disciple runs up with a box and reports they found a Nascent Soul pill in the ruins, likely brought by the feathered immortal elder. Ye Junlin hands it directly to Xu Yunian and tells him the sooner he breaks through to Nascent Soul, the stronger profound heaven becomes. Xu Yunian bows and thanks him. Right on cue, the system pings with a new quest. A potential disciple has been detected within a 100-mile radius, likely a true immortal ranked demon sect master. Ye Junlin's eyes sharpen. He grins. This mission is to recruit a true immortal ranked demon sect master as a disciple. If he pulls this off, he might shoot straight to immortality and dominate not just the wasteland, but all of Qing province. Back at the smoldering ruins of Wind Thunder sect, the disciples are uneasy. Crushing a sect was one thing. But provoking feathered immortal sect was another, and no one knew if profound heaven could weather what was coming. Ye Junlin listens in silence, expression unreadable. Suyunian steps up and tells him plainly, he's too valuable to throw his life away here. Leave the eastern region while he still can. The sect will hold the line, whatever the cost. Zhao Dezhu and Su Chanshou agree immediately. A genius like Ye Junlin dying in a place like this would be an unforgivable waste. The younger disciples erupt, swearing they'll keep the sect standing no matter what and cheering Peak Master Yi on with everything they've got. Ye Junlin watches them quietly, something shifting behind his eyes. He thinks to himself, he's never seen a sect this united before. He smiles and tells everyone to relax. He never acts without thinking to the consequences first. Whatever comes next, he'll handle it. He pats Xu Yumian on the shoulder, tells him to take his time looting the place, and walks off without another word. Xu Yumian watches him go and mutters, typical Ye Junlin, wipes out the enemy and vanishes before anyone notices. Scene shifts to the Purple Void Bamboo Grove. The towering stalks of the Purple Void Bamboo Grove stand still, until something tears through them at full speed, rattling the entire forest. A wild-looking old man in dark robes crashes through the bamboo, laughing, chasing someone deeper into the grove like he's having the time of his life. The one being chased spins around and screams that they're a man, not a woman, and demands to be left alone. The old man doesn't buy it and keeps charging, convinced the other person is just playing hard to get. As the chase goes on, the figure in red flashes back to who they used to be, the strongest cultivator in the central region, leader of demonic flame sect, a true immortal who once stood above everyone. Then enemies united, holy grounds fell, and the sect was torn apart. The only way to survive was to self-detonate their own cultivation and run. Now they're stuck in this backwater, being chased like this. The humiliation is unbearable. The old man closes in fast, green lightning crackling around him as sword energy shreds through bamboo in every direction. The figure in red wheels around and raises a crimson flame shield, red fire spiraling out in a desperate attempt to block the attack. Green lightning and crimson flames collide in the heart of the grove, sending a shockwave tearing through the bamboo. It's too much. The figure in red staggers and coughs up blood, clearly running on fumes and losing ground fast. The old man stares in disbelief. How is a foundation stage cultivator blocking a late-stage golden core attack? He figures the guy must be some hidden genius from a major sect out here training. Not worth overthinking. He launches another barrage of lightning and tells himself he'll sort out the details after he wins. The figure in red holds their ground in the center of the grove, lightning swirling around them as several swords slam into the earth, forming a defensive ring. The old man drops from above with a gleeful laugh, convinced the fight is over, telling the other person to just give up already. He grabs the figure by the face and leans in close, telling them not to bother resisting. It'll be over quickly. The person in red tears open their collar in pure rage, screaming at the old man to look carefully. The old man recoils, finally registering that this is actually a man. He stumbles back and wails dramatically, horrified that he spent all this time chasing a man. What a complete waste. The man in red straightens up with what little dignity he has left and tells the old man plainly, look carefully and never come near him again. The old man suddenly raises a hand to pause the conversation, expression shifting like something just occurred to him. He tilts his head with a crooked grin and murmurs that, actually, men aren't entirely off the table for him either. The man in red loses it completely. Fire erupts around him as he screams he'd rather blow up his own core than let this creep lay a finger on him. The old man staggers back, genuinely baffled. A foundation stage cultivator pulling off techniques this powerful? The man in red locks eyes with the old man, voice dropping cold and sharp. He picked the absolute wrong person to mess with. He launches himself through a wall of flame, robes blazing, screaming that the old man is finished. The old man panics and throws both hands up, suddenly begging to slow down and talk things over with a cup of tea. The attack lands. A massive explosion tears through the grove. The old man takes the full blast and gets sent flying, screaming as blood sprays from the impact. He crashes hard into the scorched ground. The man in red stands over him and says flatly, he brought every bit of this on himself. But winning had a cost. The man in red drops to his knees, muttering that his core nearly cracked. He needs somewhere quiet to hide and recover before planning his next move. A voice cuts through the smoke behind him, casually noting that the old man had it coming and that this guy in red is full of surprises. The man in red spins instantly, guard snapping back up, demanding to know who's there. Ye Junlin steps out from between the bamboo stalks, unhurried. He tells the man in red to relax. He has nothing to do with that creep, and his own preferences run in a perfectly normal direction. The man in red looks him over, then turns away. Fine, they go their separate ways, and hopefully never meet again. Without warning, the old man drops back down and launches a sudden attack. The man in red is caught completely off guard. The old man's eyes gleam with barely hidden greed. The man in red is far more interesting than the last guy, and he wants to know every secret hiding behind that foundation stage cultivation. He surges forward, wrapped in crackling blue lightning, demanding to know how a foundation stage cultivator got their hands on so many powerful divine abilities. The man in red is at his absolute limit, but he refuses to fall. He thinks of the comeback he's been planning and screams that it can't end here. He wrings every last drop of power from his broken cultivation, erupting in golden energy and launching himself upward through the bamboo with lightning cracking all around him. The old man stumbles back, wide-eyed, shouting that this forgotten backwater shouldn't have anyone at Nascent Soul level. He can't make sense of what he's seen. Ye Junlin stands in the center of it all, golden light blazing around him, white hair whipping in the wind, expression cold and completely focused. The old man takes one look at Ye Junlin and his entire attitude flips. He stammers a respectful greeting, says the man in red is all Ye Junlin's to deal with, and announces he's leaving immediately. Ye Junlin doesn't respond. He slowly closes his fist as golden energy blazes in his palm, then says coldly, "Someone like that old man doesn't deserve to keep breathing." He fires a blazing beam straight at the old man, who screams with nowhere left to run. The man in red watches it all, thinking bitterly. First a golden core, now a nascent soul. He wonders grimly whether today really is the day he dies. Ye Junlin glances toward the man in red, then quietly checks with the system. Something doesn't add up. The quest said demonic cult leader, True Immortal realm. So why is this person at foundation stage? The system confirms it. The man was indeed a true immortal level cult leader, but his cultivation was destroyed. As a bonus, the system unlocks a new ability, the Eye of Insight. The Eye of Insight scans the man in red and lays it all out. Hong Qianye, male former leader of the demonic flame cult. Once a true immortal with a heavenly grade fire spirit root, now reduced to early foundation stage spirit root severely damaged. Ye Junlin takes it all in. Then one detail makes him pause. Hong Qianye is, in fact, genuinely a man. He studies Hong Qianye carefully. Skin that pale, features that fine, anyone could make the same mistake. Hong Qianye stares back, quietly dreading that this new old man might have the exact same problem as the last one. Ye Junlin thinks it through. Even with his cultivation destroyed, someone with Hong Qianye's talent and experience as a former true immortal could bounce back fast. Taking him as a disciple makes a lot of sense. Ye Junlin smiles and extends a hand, telling Hong Qianye plainly that he's spotted extraordinary talent, and he's offering to take him as his disciple, starting right now. Hong Qianye's jaw drops. The shock hardens almost immediately into suspicion. He figures the old man must be fishing for his secrets. He sizes Ye Junlin up with cold contempt, thinking to himself, this nobody couldn't even get into Flame Sect's outer circle back in the day. A nascent soul cultivator calling himself a master? Laughable. Ye Junlin notices Hong Qianye's sour expression and calls him out with an easy smile, asking if the look on his face means he is not exactly thrilled about becoming a disciple. Hong Qianye sees internally. This guy is nowhere near qualified to be his master. But with his cultivation drained, fighting back isn't an option right now. He makes a calculated call, play along, recover in secret, and when the time comes, take back everything. Hong Qianye drops to one knee and declares with exaggerated sincerity that being taken under this master's wing is the greatest honor of his life. He means none of it. He swears to himself that one day, he'll reclaim his pride and everything that was taken from him. Ye Junlin waves him up and casually announces he'll call him Little Hong from now on. Hong Qianye freezes, staring back in pure disbelief. He forces a smile and says, "Yes, master." Hands clasped politely, already plotting his eventual reversal. The system fires off a notification, disciple recruitment mission complete. Reward, auto-cultivation mode for divine skills. Ye Junlin blinks and asks if that means he can level up by doing absolutely nothing. A second reward drops right after, the Burial Heaven coffin sealed with 108 locks that unlock as the host grows stronger. Currently active at 3rd grade spirit tool level. The Burial Heaven coffin materializes in swirling golden light, ornate surface crackling with restrained power. The system explains it can bury the heavens, the earth, and everything in between. At full power, it can trap entire worlds. More rewards follow. The system grants Ye Junlin the 3000 Flame Sutra, a fire-type divine skill, along with a fire origin pill to repair his fire spirit root. Ye Junlin looks at everything and remarks that the burial heaven coffin alone has the potential to bury the Tao itself. He can't wait to see how far it goes as it unlocks. He laughs to himself, getting loot this good is exactly what a transmigrator from the great nation deserves. Nearby, Hong Qianye watches his new master glowing with satisfaction and rolls his eyes, muttering that this clown is way too smug about recruiting a genius like himself. He swears he'll flip the script one day. Ye Junlin glances back and says casually that little Hong is pretty easy to read, and asks if he really thinks his master isn't worthy of him. Hong Qianye immediately protests that Ye Junlin has it all wrong. That's just his resting face. Inside, he sneers. A mere nascent soul cultivator has no right to lecture someone like him. Ye Junlin sighs and decides to prove himself. He holds out a flaming scroll and tells Hong Qianye to take it as his entry gift. Hong Qianye accepts it politely, but the moment Ye Junlin looks away, his expression turns dismissive. What kind of technique could a backwater fool like this even offer? He reads the title out loud, 3000 Flame Sutra. He scoffs, arrogant name for what he assumes is a worthless technique. Then the name fully registers. His expression drops. Eyes go wide. No way. There is absolutely no way. As the technique pours into his mind, Hong Qianye is stunned. His own reversed fury flame was top tier in the central region, yet standing next to the 3000 Flame Sutra, it feels like trash. He sees himself at his peak, wreathed in towering golden flames. Even then, nothing he cultivated came close to this. He can't contain his shock. This technique doesn't just push the limits of fire cultivation, it rewrites them. This isn't immortal rank. This might genuinely be saint rank. Cultivation skill ranks run from mortal up through spirit, profound, earth, heaven, exalted, immortal, and finally, Saint Hong Qianye grips the scroll and shouts that with this, getting back to true immortal isn't even the ceiling anymore. Ye Junlin glances over with a half-smile and asks if that expression means he likes it. Hong Qianye spins around and thanks his master with genuine excitement, calling it absolutely fire. Then the confusion hits. How does this backwater region even have something like this? Before he can process it, Ye Junlin holds out the fire origin pill between two fingers. Hong Qianye's jaw drops the moment he recognizes what it is. Ye Junlin smiles. Hong Qianye sputters. For fire cultivators, the fire origin pill is a heavenly elixir, so rare that even immortals come to blows over it. He stares at it, grinding his teeth. Even at the height of his power, he never once managed to get his hands on one. Ye Junlin raises an eyebrow and asks if little Hong is really going to stand there and question his master's gifts. Hong Qianye clasps his hands and declares this the greatest fortune of his life. Inside, he's telling himself to stay calm and figure out where this fool stumbled onto treasures like these. Ye Junlin watches the performance play out across Hong Qianye's face and thinks to himself, this kid's expressions are basically a soap opera. He tells Hong Qianye to take the pill and start cultivating. He'll stand guard while his disciple levels up. Hong Qianye thanks him and sits down without another word. Hong Qianye swallows the fire origin pill. A wave of searing heat immediately floods through him from the inside out. He sits cross-legged among the bamboo. Robes rippling as golden fire spirals around him and the 3000 Flame Sutra begins to take root. Ye Junlin watches calmly as the energy spikes upward. Foundation Establishment, Golden Core, Nascent Soul, one after another. He nods. A former True Immortal breaking into Nascent Soul in half an hour is genuinely impressive. Hong Qianye erupts with a shout as the breakthrough completes, fire and lightning tearing through the bamboo around him. He screams that the central region had better watch out. He catches himself and offers a sheepish apology. Ye Junlin waves it off and says it's time to head back to the sect and meet his martial uncles. Scene shifts to Profound Heaven Sect's courtyard, buzzing with excitement. Someone shouts that Peak Master Yi casually took down a Nascent Soul cultivator like it was nothing. A disciple sighs that he should have joined Misty Peak when he had the chance. His friend shuts him down. Ye Junlin has standards, not just anyone gets in. Ye Junlin descends from the sky, white hair flowing. The disciples erupt immediately, then start whispering about the striking figure in red robes landing beside him. Hong Qianye lands, red robes catching the last light of the setting sun. A disciple calls out asking who that beautiful woman is. Hong Qianye's expression darkens instantly. He sweeps a cold glance across the crowd and thinks to himself, this sect's cultivation level is a complete joke. Junlin steps forward and asks who this is. Ye Junlin drapes an arm casually over Hong Qianye's shoulder and announces with a grin, this is his new disciple, picked up on the road. He tells little Hong to greet the sect leader. The courtyard erupts. One male disciple shouts the word disciple in stunned outrage. A young woman nearby flushes red with jealousy, fuming that Peak Master Yi actually took this person as his student. Hong Qianye has had enough. He snaps loudly at the crowd. He is a man, not a woman. The female disciple steps forward, sword energy crackling at her fingertips, demanding to know what realm this newcomer is at. She squares up directly in front of Hong Qianye, senses something, and barely breathes out the words Nascent Soul. Before things escalate, Ye Junlin steps between them and flicks Hong Qianye on the back of the head. He tells him firmly, this is his senior sister. Apologize, now. Hong Qianye swallows every ounce of pride he has left and says flatly that he's sorry for being rude. Inside, he's already counting the days until he hits divine transformation, so he can pay back every bit of this humiliation. Ye Junlin nods and announces it's time to get little Hong settled at Misty Peak. Shu Yunian waves them off. The senior disciples watch them go. One shakes his head and says, picking up a Nascent Soul disciple just like that is absolutely unhinged. The other agrees. Junior brother Yi has been dropping one bombshell after another since the moment he got back. Scene shifts to Misty Peak. Ye Junlin gestures broadly and tells Hong Qianye, as his first and chief disciple, he can take his pick of any spot and make it his own. Hong Qianye stares at the crumbling courtyard in front of him. Rubble everywhere, the building barely standing. He thinks the servants' quarters back at Demonic Flame Sect were 100 times better. He stares at Ye Junlin and asks if this is seriously where he has to live. Ye Junlin smiles without a shred of sympathy and says only the weak complain about their surroundings. Strong people adapt. For a cultivator, material things like this are beneath consideration. He adds that it's a little dirty, then tells Hong Qianye to clean it up himself and starts walking away. Hong Qianye stares after him, fuming. But something shifts in his eyes. He tells himself it won't be long. Ye Junlin, just you wait. Hong Qianye leaps into action above the rooftops, slashing through rubble with bursts of energy. He's angry, but he's moving forward. Scene cuts far away to the Grand Hall of Feathered Immortal Sect in Qingzhou Province. A lone figure kneels before a massive golden throne, the weight of the room pressing down on them. A wooden tablet cracks apart in someone's hands, the carved characters splitting down the middle as sparks scatter. The death signal of Elder Mu has just arrived. The figure holding the broken tablet is Elder Zhuyang of the True Inheritance Hall, his expression completely still as he processes it. The kneeling young man speaks up, voice tight with guilt. He was the one who sent Elder Mu to deliver the pill to his father. Now Elder Mu is dead, and his father's sect may be in danger. He needs to go there himself. Elder Zhuyang sits atop the Grand Hall steps and asks Chen Xiao plainly, does he know why he was chosen as his disciple? Chen Xiao answers carefully. Because of the immortal sun body he was born with, the constitution that opens the door to true immortality. Elder Zhuyang crushes the broken tablet in his fist and says that's only part of it. What he truly saw in Chen Xiao was something rarer than any bloodline, real hunger for power. And that kind of drive, he says, won't be stopped by small obstacles. He tells Chen Xiao that the true inheritance competition is approaching. Win the top spot, claim the sect's resources, and use every advantage available. This is his moment. Chen Xiao's expression tightens. He starts to raise a concern. Elder Zhuyang cuts him off. Wind Thunder Sect is not worth worrying about. He'll dispatch someone to handle it personally. Chen Xiao needs to keep his eyes on the competition and nothing else. Chen Xiao steadies himself, clasps his hands, and tells his master he understands. He won't let him down. Scene shifts to the next morning at Misty Peak. Ye Junlin is lounging in a rocking chair in the courtyard, completely at ease, looking like a man without a single care in the world. He calls out cheerfully to Hong Qianye, asking if he's ready yet. His master is getting impatient. Hong Qianye walks out carrying a tray of grilled skewers, expression flat. He thinks to himself, all this man ever thinks about is food. How can a divine transformation cultivator be this obsessed with eating? Yesterday it was a lecture about not complaining. Today it's a cookout. Ye Junlin takes one bite and his eyes light up. He declares the meat and beans are on another level. Then quietly realizes the system-given seasoning is genuinely incredible. He holds a skewer out toward Hong Qianye with a grin and tells him to come have a bite. Don't be shy. Hong Qianye declines stiffly, saying he's mastered fasting and cultivation is all he needs. Ye Junlin shakes his head. What's the point of getting stronger if you can't enjoy life? And pushes the skewer closer. Hong Qianye eventually sighs and mutters, fine, just one bite. He takes it reluctantly, already telling himself Ye Junlin is a weirdo and it's just grilled meat. The moment it hits his tongue, his eyes go wide. He whispers that the taste is incredible, and says he hasn't felt this kind of happiness since he was a child. Ye Junlin blinks and asks if he's seriously about to cry over a skewer. Hong Qianye turns away slightly, a tear running down his cheek, and quietly admits that when he was young, he was always hungry. He only ever wanted one bite of real meat. That first taste back then was something he could never put into words. A flash of memory. A tiny Hong Qianye sitting on the ground, clutching a piece of food with both hands and eating with everything he had. He threw himself completely into cultivation and battle, and somewhere along the way, quietly forgot what it felt like to enjoy the simple things. He sits with that for a moment, then admits quietly, Ye Junlin was right. What's the point of becoming stronger if you stop noticing the small joys along the way? Golden fire erupts around Hong Qianye as he rises to his feet. Ye Junlin stares up from his chair as breakthroughs stack one after another. Early Nascent Soul, mid, late, peak perfected, and then straight into divine transformation. He shouts in disbelief. Did this kid seriously just break through from eating a single skewer? Hong Qianye stands in the swirling flames, completely speechless. He didn't expect any of this. Ye Junlin beams at him, skewer in each hand, and congratulates Hong Qianye on reaching divine transformation. He says he's genuinely happy for him, then adds with a grin that his disciple is almost at his level now. Hong Qianye stares at his own hands as the fire settles. He admits quietly that he never imagined hitting divine transformation this fast. Then something shifts behind his eyes. He thinks to himself that this crazy master and disciple bond of theirs is going to have to end soon. With Hong Qianye freshly at divine transformation, Ye Junlin wasted no time. He called out cheerfully from his rocking chair. Little Hong had eaten well and leveled up, so it was time to come massage his shoulders. Hong Qianye's expression twisted. Dark energy exploded around him, eyes burning red as he snarled at Ye Junlin. How dare he order a divine transformation cultivator around like a houseboy? Ye Junlin didn't even blink. He shot back with complete calm that a mere divine transformation cultivator should get lost, and the golden fire around Hong Qianye snuffed out instantly. Before the tension could go further, a disciple ran in with urgent news. The sect master needed Ye Junlin in the discussion hall immediately. Hong Qianye quietly seethed behind Ye Junlin's back, clenching his fist. Ye Junlin always had openings. There would be plenty of chances later. Ye Junlin stood, stretched, and told little Hong he was heading out. He praised his massage technique and casually added that when he returned, they could move on to the legs. The moment Ye Junlin turned his back, Hong Qianye completely lost it. Arms flying, robes flaring, screaming that he was being treated like a common servant, and that he should have finished the old man off when he had the chance. Scene shifts to the profound Heaven sect discussion hall. The senior disciples sat with heavy faces, murmuring that perhaps Heaven had truly decided to destroy the sect. The doors burst open. The disciples snapped to attention, shouting, "Peak Lord Ye!" Xu Yuanyin welcomed him in. Ye Junlin stepped into the hall and glanced around with a half-smile, asking if the sect was facing yet another crisis, and commenting that the turnout was quite impressive. Xu Yuanyin laid out the situation. A few years back, Wei Kingdom, under profound Heaven sect's protection, had sent an urgent plea. Strange incidents had broken out across the nation, with many civilians dying under mysterious circumstances. The bodies were completely drained of blood, left in a ghastly and hollow state. Entire cities of over 1 million residents had become ghost towns overnight. Xu Yuanyin had dispatched a group of disciples to investigate. Not a single one ever came back. That very morning, Wei Kingdom sent another emergency report. The crisis had crossed its borders and was spreading to neighboring states. If nothing was done, the entire wastelands could be swallowed by chaos. The implications for the sect were just as severe. A catastrophe of this scale would cripple recruitment for years. Ye Junlin asked plainly whether no one had seen the face behind all this devastation. Su Yongshui answered flatly. Whoever had seen it was already dead. If this kept up, profound Heaven sect would fall into steep decline. Something capable of swallowing entire kingdoms was completely out of the sect's league. Ye Junlin narrowed his eyes. Not a single word from the disciples sent to investigate. Whatever was pulling the strings had serious reach. Right on cue, the system fired off a new quest. Travel to Wei Kingdom and uncover the root cause of the crisis with rewards beyond imagination. Ye Junlin gave a thumbs up and said the timing was genuinely perfect. The system replied that it knew. Ye Junlin turned to Xu Yuanyin and laid it out. The phenomenon started in Wei Kingdom and was still hitting hardest there. so the source had to be somewhere inside that region. He would go personally. Junlin praised his sense of duty and said he was certain the crisis would be resolved swiftly. Ye Junlin told him to wait for good news, then shot straight out through the roof before Shu Yunian could finish another sentence. The disciples stared up at the open sky. Someone muttered that he didn't even let the sect master finish speaking. Another said Peak Lord Yi was simply built differently. Back at the sect, some disciples quietly wondered whether Ye Junlin could handle something this strange. Sir Qianxue shut that down. What in this barren wasteland could possibly challenge a divine transformation expert? Su Yunian agreed. If even Ye Junlin couldn't solve it, the wasteland was finished. He told everyone to focus on cultivation and not waste time worrying. They couldn't afford to disappoint junior brother Ye. Scene shifts to the eastern wastelands, outskirts of Wei Kingdom. Two streaks of white cut through the autumn sky as Ye Junlin and Hong Qianye made their way toward the crisis. Hong Qianye flew alongside his master, quietly seething. Being dragged off to some desolate corner right after the hall meeting wasn't how he imagined things going, but he kept his face flat and reminded himself that somewhere on this journey he'd find his chance. Their first stop, Peach Blossom Village, a small settlement nestled among red autumn trees. From above, Ye Junlin spotted a crowd of dark figures moving through the village square and said they should go take a look. Hong Qianye muttered that even small incidents needed their attention now. In the village square, the chief of Peach Blossom Village knelt before a cloaked figure and begged. The village had nothing of value, only livestock. He pleaded for them to take it all and spare his people. The master of Black Windwalled City sneered. He had no interest in their pitiful animals. What he wanted was the villagers themselves. He drove his blade through a man without hesitation, blood spraying across the stone ground. His subordinate stepped forward with glowing red eyes and sharp teeth, telling the villagers to submit and promising their deaths wouldn't be too painful. Then he laughed. The bandits spread out with blades drawn, shouting for everyone to clear the way. Crimson tendrils shot down from above, wrapping around the villagers and lifting them off the ground. People screamed in terror. Children clung to their mothers. The village elder howled that it was a monster and screamed for someone to save them. Hong Qianye narrowed his eyes as he watched the dark tendrils drain the life from the villagers. The technique felt familiar. It resembled one used by an old acquaintance from the Central Region, someone who died during the siege by the Central Region's sacred sects. Yet Junlin asked if he recognized it. Hong Qianye crossed his arms and said flatly that he didn't recognize it at all. It just seemed sinister. Ye Junlin raised an eyebrow. Hong Qianye's eyes twitched with visible irritation, but he said nothing more. Hong Qianye thought to himself, if the technique really did belong to who he suspected, this journey was going to be far more complicated than it looked. Below, the villagers were still screaming they didn't want to die. Ye Junlin had heard enough. He shot downward through the night air and landed directly in front of the Black Wind leader, hand raised. His voice was sharp and absolute. Their feast of blood ended here. The Black Wind leader spun around, red eyes blazing, demanding to know who Ye Junlin was and whether he had a death wish. He didn't wait for an answer, lunging forward with both fists wrapped in dark energy and crashing his full force straight into Ye Junlin. Ye Junlin met him with a single raised finger, the collision sending a shockwave in every direction. The Black Wind leader hit the ground hard, blood spraying from the impact. Ye Junlin stood over him completely unruffled, telling him there was no need to get worked up. They still needed to have a proper chat. The bandits froze, blades raised, but none of them moved, too stunned to act. The Black Wind leader stared up from the ground, face pale and drenched in sweat. He finally processed what had just overpowered him, and screamed that this man was a divine transformation cultivator, then slammed his hands on the ground and begged to be spared. Ye Junlin crouched down and looked at him with calm, steady eyes. He told the man to talk. Where did he come from? What had he witnessed? And where did he learn that dark art? The Black Wind leader spilled everything. He had once been a royal palace guard in Wei Kingdom, sentenced to death by the prince after witnessing something he was never meant to see. Not willing to die for someone else's secret, he ran. He had seen the prince slipping in and out of the rear mountain repeatedly, always in secret, but never dared to look deeper. As for the dark art, he picked it up from a mysterious organization he encountered while on the run. He knew nothing about who they were. Ye Junlin stood with his back to the man, expression unreadable, and asked one simple question. They handed over a technique like that without asking anything in return. The Black Wind leader admitted the truth. The only condition was that he used the technique to drain the essence and blood of others to boost his own cultivation. He had followed their instructions without question. knowing nothing beyond that. Ye Junlin turned to Hong Qianye and said it seemed a large organization was operating behind all of this, likely connected to the crisis spreading across Wei Kingdom. Hong Qianye stood in silence, his mind turning. The way this technique was passed down felt far too familiar. He thought, could that person still be alive? And if so, why would he show up here in the wastelands? Ye Junlin asked what little Hong made of it. Hong Qianye put on a blank face and said he had no clue. Then, keeping his voice flat, added, if this calamity was truly that person's doing, a mere divine transformation cultivator like Ye Junlin wouldn't be enough to stop him. And if that was the case, Wei Kingdom might very well become Ye Junlin's final resting place. Ye Junlin turned his attention back to the Black Wind leader, pressed one hand against the man's head, and let a faint golden light activate in his palm. He said quietly they needed to see if he was hiding anything. The Eye of Insight activated. A massive bloodshot eye filled the frame as Ye Junlin scanned every memory buried inside the man's mind. The scan tore through the man's consciousness. Shadow figures closed in. Purple lightning crackled to his body, ripping out everything hidden inside. He screamed as the memories were forcibly pulled to the surface. Ye Junlin released him and stepped back. The man hadn't lied, but he had uncovered something worth noting. He told Hong Qianye they needed to move immediately, straight to Wei Kingdom's royal palace. Without another word, Hong Qianye raised one hand and unleashed a torrent of golden fire across the remaining bandits, flames roaring through the village square as embers scattered in every direction. The fire swallowed the bandits whole. Their screams tore through the burning air, and then silence fell across the scorched ground. Ye Junlin stood against the blazing sky, expression steady. Behind him, the village chief and surviving villagers stared up in stunned disbelief. Hong Qianye turned, robes still swirling in the heat, and asked his master if he had done anything wrong. These were bandits. Bandits deserve to die. He also admitted quietly that after holding everything in for so long, it felt good to finally let loose. Ye Junlin cleared his throat and told him no. He did well. The village chief erupted in tearful gratitude, shouting that these immortal heroes had upheld justice and that Peach Blossom Village would be forever in their debt. Ye Junlin gave a satisfied thumbs up. Scene shifts to the grand throne room of Wei Kingdom's royal palace. Officials stood in rows as the emperor sat at the far end, his face heavy with worry. The emperor sighed. Over the past few years, Wei's population had dropped by 30%. If the calamity continued at this rate, the entire kingdom would be consumed. He wondered aloud whether the immortals from Profound Heaven Sect could truly save them. Before anyone could respond, a young woman burst into the throne room shouting for her father, breathless with excitement, announcing she had just seen two immortals flying straight toward the palace. The emperor shot to his feet and ordered his ministers to follow him at once to greet them. In the front row, one of the princes watched the emperor rush out with a dark expression and cold eyes. Ye Junlin and Hong Qianye shot through the blazing evening sky toward the royal palace, robes trailing behind them as the sunset lit everything in deep red and gold. Below, a stunned figure watched them pass overhead. As they descended, Ye Junlin turned to Hong Qianye with a satisfied grin and asked if this kind of entrance suited him perfectly. Hong Qianye kept a straight face and said yes, master was very wise. Internally, he sneered. Just wait and see how Ye Junlin handled things, once whatever was behind the calamity learned he was here. The emperor rushed out to the palace gates with his ministers in tow, beaming with relief as he called out a welcome to the immortal masters. Ye Junlin landed and introduced himself with full composure. Peak Lord of Misty Peak, Profound Heaven Sect. He told them plainly that he had come to resolve the crisis. There was no need to live in fear any longer. The emperor pressed both hands to his chest and bowed deeply, speaking on behalf of all the people of Wei. Whatever the immortal masters needed, they only had to ask. Ye Junlin's only request was simple: arrange a resting place for himself and his disciple. The emperor nodded eagerly and personally led them inside. The emperor showed them to a quiet courtyard inside the palace, white petals drifting down from blossoming trees overhead. Ye Junlin and Hong Qianye walked side by side to the calm space as evening settled around them. Somewhere deep in the shadows of the palace, a masked figure watched everything from the darkness. He scoffed, a mere peak lord from Profound Heaven Sect, carrying himself with such arrogance. Then a cold smile crossed his face. He had been searching for a worthy offering to help his master break through the peak of divine transformation. Ye Junlin had arrived at exactly the right moment. Back in their quarters, Hong Kanye watched Ye Junlin sprawl across the couch without a care in the world and thought, this slob somehow reached Nascent Soul. It made no sense. He reminded himself it didn't matter. Once he surpassed this man in cultivation, crushing him would cost nothing at all. Ye Junlin lay there twirling a spirit pill and smiled to himself. Little Hong's schemes were obvious. Sooner or later, every one of them would blow up in his own face. He sat up and asked Hong Qianye with a grin if he wanted to learn how his master cultivated. The answer? Go fetch water for a foot wash first, and once comfortable, the lesson would begin. Hong Qianye snapped. Back in his prime, immortals came to him for guidance. If anyone should be playing Grandmaster here, it was him, not Ye Junlin. Ye Junlin waved him off and asked flatly whether he wanted to improve or just freeload at his age. Hong Qianye completely lost it. He was the proud leader of the demonic flame cult. Washing feet was where he drew the line. He was one step away from going hostile right now. Before he could act on it, a voice outside announced urgent news about the strange occurrences in Wei Kingdom. Hong Kenya went still. Ye Junlin called out asking who was there. The visitor identified himself as Zhao Heng, Crown Prince of Wei, requesting an audience over a matter of the kingdom's survival. Ye Junlin told him to come in and asked what was so urgent. Zhao Heng entered and knelt. Ye Junlin studied him in silence. His divine sense had already swept the rear mountain and found nothing. So either this man was lying, or something was hiding from him. Zhao Heng admitted there was a secret he had never dared reveal to his father. He believed the demonic scourge consuming Wei Kingdom was coming from a cave inside the royal palace's rear mountain. A few nights ago, he had spotted black bat demons slipping into that cave after dark. Around the same time, palace staff had been disappearing without a trace. He was certain the two were connected. He pressed his hands to the floor and begged Ye Junlin to go to the rear mountain and wipe out the bat demons. Only someone of his ability could save the people of Wei. Ye Junlin said nothing for a moment. His divine sense had detected no abnormalities there at all. Either this man was fabricating everything, or whatever lurked behind that mountain was strong enough to hide from a divine transformation cultivator. He told Zhao Heng to lead the way. He wanted to see for himself what was being hidden there. Zhao Heng thanked him with visible relief and said that with Ye Junlin's help, the scourge of Wei would surely be finished. He gestured for them to follow. Hong Kanye fell into step behind his master but muttered coldly that the foot wash matter wasn't over. He'd circle back to it. The three moved through the silent palace corridor under a single hanging lantern, Zhao Heng guiding them deeper into the palace grounds under cover of night. From the shadows, another prince watched in silence. He recognized Zhao Heng sneaking off with the two immortals, eyes turning cold. His brother had always been rotten, and this secret meeting was the last straw. He slipped away to report to the emperor at once. The three arrived at the rear mountain. The place was eerily quiet, nothing like somewhere bat demons would nest. Ye Junlin said as much to Zhao Heng directly. Zhao Heng stopped and announced they had reached their destination. Ye Junlin smiled with cold eyes and said he was ready to see exactly what was being hidden here. The real Zhao Heng's face twisted into something sinister. He admitted he never expected to fool Ye Junlin for long, but was surprised he walked in so willingly. He sneered that overconfidence was Ye Junlin's fatal flaw. He dropped the act and charged forward, purple claws of dark energy crackling around his fists, declaring the rear mountain would be Ye Junlin's grave today. From the darkness above, shadowy figures swarmed the mountain. Zhao Heng ordered his elders to move in now. 5 formations erupted simultaneously, blazing rings of purple energy closing in from every direction. The 5-fold binding formation sealed the entire area in an instant. A one-eyed elder in a red and black robe stepped forward and introduced himself as a late Nascent Soul elder of Blood Nether sect. He said killing a demon king was impressive for a peak master. But that was as far as Ye Junlin's luck would go. Zhao Heng laughed and added that even a divine transformation cultivator couldn't escape the 5-fold binding formation alive. The elder ordered everyone to move in fast, or reminded them not to damage Ye Junlin too badly. Their master needed him intact. As for the one in red robes, he told them to cripple that one's cultivation. Zhao Heng licked his lips and said he intended to enjoy that one personally. Hong Qianye's eyes snapped open, pupils burning red. He growled through clenched teeth, asking what Zhao Heng just said. He erupted in a blaze of golden fire and tore free from the formation, screaming across the mountain. He hadn't planned to get involved, but they had just insulted something he held precious. Hong Qianye crashed into the elders like a comet, the shockwave of fire and lightning scattering them in every direction and blasting the formation apart. Zhao Heng stared in total disbelief, sweating through his robes. The five-fold binding formation shattered with a single burst. He screamed that it was impossible. The Blood Nether Elder's expression darkened. He grabbed Zhao Heng and snapped. He never expected the Misty Peak Master to bring along a disciple at Divine Transformation stage. He gritted his teeth. Whoever broke the binding formation had to be using a technique above the celestial tier. Nothing else could have torn through it that cleanly. Zhao Heng clicked his tongue and muttered that these old fools were useless. He had hoped they could at least earn some credit for their master. He switched tactics immediately, stepping forward with open hands and calling out to Hong Qianye with a wide smile. Someone of that cultivation level deserved better, and following his master would mean a limitless future. Hong Qianye turned slowly, eyes blazing red. He told Zhao Hong plainly, daring to challenge him was the last mistake he would ever make. Hong Qianye launched himself at Zhao Hong, golden fire roaring around him as they clashed head-on in a burst of blazing energy. Zhao Heng took the full hit and was sent tumbling through the flames, barely keeping himself upright as fire swallowed everything around him. Ye Junlin watched with half-closed eyes and clicked his tongue. Zhao Hong really had a gift for making people want to destroy him. He stepped forward and told Hong Qianye that was enough. Don't kill Zhao Hong yet. He had questions for him first. Ye Junlin crouched over the battered Zhao Heng and pressed 2 fingers to his chest, ready to extract answers by force. He asked plainly, who was his master and what kind of person could command a divine transformation cultivator? Zhao Heng, bruised and barely conscious, said his master was a former upper immortal from the central domain, far above any divine transformation cultivator. He warned Ye Junlin to submit now, or when his master arrived, even death would be a luxury he couldn't afford. Ye Junlin's eyes stayed cold. He said submit was not a word in his vocabulary. Then he told Zhao Heng he would start counting, and with each number, one of his people would die. 1. A blast of energy tore through the nearest Blood Nether Elder, sending the man flying with a single strike. The Blood Nether Elder scrambled to his feet in shock. A wasteland sect with 2 divine transformation cultivators was something that simply should not exist. 2. Another beam of light punched straight through a second elder, scattering him across the ground. 3, 4, 5. Each count landed like a hammer, dropping elder after elder until the mountain fell silent. Ye Junlin looked at the last man standing and said quietly, now it was just him. Zhao Heng scrambled back, stuttering, as crackling lightning surged around his hands. Before Zhao Hong could act, a massive beam of blood-red light tore down from above, splitting the mountain open with a deafening crack that shook the entire rear mountain. From the palace below, the emperor's daughter gasped and grabbed her father's arm, pointing at the terrifying pillar of blood light blazing above. The emperor shouted for everyone to move immediately, and prayed the immortals were still alive. Hong Qianye felt the aura hit him and his eyes narrowed. That energy, it was exactly who he suspected. Even the thought of facing that person again made something cold settle deep in his chest. Zhao Heng burst into laughter, face twisted with relief and fury. He screamed that his master had finally arrived, and now there was no way either of them was walking out alive.